Hi everyone, welcome to Techie Crown. Today I'm going to discuss about the Australian PR journey. Australian PR is a dream for most of you, but you may be stuck or unaware about the process where to start. So this video will help you to initiate or start with the PR processing. Let us get into the detail of this video. There are different stages involved in the PR processing. So what are the stages that we should be aware about the PR processing? The first stage of the PR processing is the research, which we are going to discuss in detail in this episode. I'm going to share about the list of other stages in my upcoming videos, and you can subscribe my channel and stay tuned for the other videos. So what are the other stages in the PR process? The second one would be the document preparation. Next would be the assessment, followed by PTE or IELTS. Once you are done with your English evaluation, then you should be ready to submit your UI. So once you submitted your UI, the next step would be to get the pre-invite or invite. Then you should be filing your application, followed by document upload process. Then you should be doing your health and police clearance check. If you have submitted all your documents, then in case if you have missed any of the documents, a case officer will contact you in request of the document. Once you have submitted all your documents, the final stage would be the grant. So I'm going to share videos about all these stages as separate videos. So subscribe and stay tuned. At last of all the videos, I'm going to share my timeline. The first step of the PR processing would be the research. So you should take or spend enough time to do the research about all the steps which you are going to discuss here. The first step of the research process would be the availability of skill code. So once you started or plan to initiate the PR, you should check under what skill code you fall under, and then you need to check whether your skill is listed in the occupation list or not. If you are planning to apply for a specific state in the Australian PR, then you should check whether that particular skill is available in the state skill occupation list or not. And the second thing would be the job opportunities for your skill. For example, if you fall under the category or skill code of a software engineer, then you should check whether there is a demand for your skill set in that particular state. Also, you should be able to check whether how soon you will be able to get a job for your skill in that particular state. The next step would be to check you are going to apply for PR under which type of visa. Is it going to be 189 or 190 or 491? So you should be having clarity and clear understanding about the type of visa you are going to apply for, and you should know the restrictions and limitations on each and every visa. The last step would be what will be the total processing fee for the entire PR. So you should be aware about the cost involved with each and every step of the PR processing. So I would say that the first step would be the research about the availability of skill code and the below 4 points. So make sure you do your complete research. The second step would be the calculation of score. Most people will always start with the calculation of score as the first step. But assume if after calculating your score, if your skill is not available in that particular state or in that listed in the occupation code, then you will not be eligible to apply for PR. So I would always recommend to check for your skill set in the occupation list. Once it is available, then based on your job availability, job market, and the total processing cost, if you're comfortable with all of these things, then you can start checking for the eligibility. So I would always recommend to check for the eligibility at the second step. So when you want to check the eligibility, what are the things we need to do? The first thing would be to calculate your score. You have a lot of online tools available, and you can just log into the online tools and then enter the age, education, experience, and your English score. Probably you can enter 10 or 20 points and then see how much score you arrive at. So if you feel that it crosses almost 65 points, then you are eligible to apply for PR. So one thing we should remember is that we have to analyze the education and experience. Assume if your education is under electrical and electronics or electronics and communication, whereas you are working in IT, then there will be always deduction of experience by the assessment board. Similarly, if you you did an engineering and if you are working as a business analyst, then there will be deduction of points. So based on your education and experience, if they are irrelevant, then there will be a deduction of experience by the assessment board. So make sure that you guess the deduction of experience and calculate the points appropriately. Most people miss the deduction of experience and then they used to enter the exact experience and try to arrive at a score of 80 or 85. But that will not be the case. So always try to arrive at a point of how much points you'll be getting for experience after assessment. So you should do a proper due diligence and research on the education versus experience. And the next thing would be the gap in education or experience. Assume if you did your bachelor's and then you have an experience of almost 3 years, then you would have completed your master's after 3 years of experience, then you would have gone for work. Assume if you have almost 15 years of experience, then assessment board calculates the experience differently. So you should try to understand and research about how the assessment board is going to calculate your experience, and you should arrive at the points appropriately. So you should do enough research to understand which assessment board you are going to apply for and how the experience will be calculated. The last point would be deduction in points. So you may be arriving at your points by entering your age, experience and education. For age and education, the experience, the points will not be varying, but in case of experience, the points will be varying. So you should be able to arrive at the appropriate and correct points. The third step would be the research on additional points. So you are done with your analysis on the job market, and second thing, you have identified your score. The third thing would be you should know for your skill set what is the recent cutoff. For example, if you are a software engineer, you should check what was the recent invite cutoff points. For example, if for 189, if the recent cutoff is 85 points and your score comes to almost 75, then you should do enough research to understand how you can increase your points. Because if you apply with 75 points, then it will take almost 6 months to 1 year to get an invite, and it may vary based on the number of applications and the policies of Australian immigration. So I would always recommend to do enough research to see if you can increase your points in any of these categories. So you should do enough research to understand how you can increase your points. The second thing would be RPL and CDR. So you should understand what is RPL and CDR and see if you can submit any of these documents so that your points will increase, or to avoid any deduction in experience when you send your documents for assessment. Third thing would be the spouse PTE or assessment. If you are married and if you have your spouse working under the same skill set or different skill set, you should understand and research on whether you are eligible to apply for assessment for your spouse, and if your spouse is able to clear PTA or IELTS. The last thing would be the availability of documents. You should do a complete research about the availability of documents on the roles and responsibilities, pay steps, all the other documents, to make sure that when you submit your document for assessment, it should come with a positive assessment instead of negative impacts. So you should do a complete research on this particular process. The next thing we should do a research is about the answer code. So once you start applying, you should be aware about under which skill code you are going to apply for. Assume if you have almost 10 years of experience with 3 years as a tester and 3 years as a business analyst and 4 years as a developer, then you should compare your skills with the relevant code to make sure that under which skill code you are going to apply for. As you will not be eligible to apply under 2 or 3 different skill codes, you should make sure that you apply under the appropriate skill code which has most demand under that particular state. So do your analysis and research to understand which skill code has the most demand, and you will be getting the invite as early as possible if you apply on. So you should do an analysis and research about your skill set versus the relevant skill code. So this is one of the important tasks which you need to do to understand and get a positive assessment from the assessment board. For example, if your profile matches with the skill set of software engineer, developer programmer and analyst programmer, so do an analysis to see under which category you have the options to get the invite at the earliest. So match your profile, resume and the skill code appropriately to assign yourself with the appropriate skill code. The last step of the process would be the research on the agent process. If you are aware about the complete process, you can do the PR processing by yourself. If not, identify the agent of your choice who can do the complete PR processing within a specific time frame and within your budget. I can also guide you with the complete PR processing with a minimal cost. You can contact me for any questions. Thank you and thanks for watching. Subscribe as a token of thanks for this information. So this is the email ID. You can contact me for any questions.